Now we will move on to our colleagues from Norwegian Refugee Council, Ms. Hannah Anschell Shapazad and Soren Dalgaard, and they will be talking about addressing disaster displacement through arts. And they will talk about connecting the dots between disaster displacement and Target E, including displacement in local, national, and regional DRR strategy. So please welcome Ms. Hannah.
Hello, can you hear me? Great. So we're here to talk about how to address disaster displacement through art. And before we begin, I just wanted to ask you, how many of you have been to an international conference like this before? Hands, okay. How many of you have carried an island at an international conference before? Any hands? Some people in Marrakesh, December 2018. So do you think if you carried this island, you would remember that you'd carried the island? Hands up. Okay. So what we're going to talk about is how art can help you address disaster displacement in your disaster risk reduction strategies. And this is a really important topic because, as you may have heard earlier this week, the Internal Displacement Monitoring Center just issued a report saying that last year, 17.2 million people were displaced by disasters, newly displaced. And it's clear that if you hear those statistics, governments need to prepare. You need to address disaster displacement in your risk reduction strategies. And there's a Words into Action document that's going to be released tomorrow that will help you do that. But we also know that you can know the numbers, you can know it's important to do, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to do something about it. So what we want to talk about is the idea of how could we use art to help you move beyond? Because we know that you can know, but you also need an emotional connection often to make you feel compelled to want to do something. So what would happen if during all the panel discussions, the working panels here, working groups happening here at this conference, what if we integrated artists and artwork into those discussions? How would that change the conversation? So what if we included photographs from Chris Wainwright, who was working with tsunami survivors after the Fukushima earthquake and tsunami? What would happen if we had artist Mary Mantonley sitting on a panel discussion talking about her work on creating alternative architecture, ways to live with risk through ways that collect water, plants, self-contained living structures. Utopian, but possible. What would happen if we talked about the more human element of relocation because of disasters and climate change? And we used the work of the Relocate Kivalina, an artist collective, looking at creating an archive with Native Alaskan communities about what it means for them to have to relocate. That includes not only geological surveys, but also their family photographs, traditional hunting patterns. How would that change the conversation? So we're here to talk about the project called Displacement: Uncertain Journeys. And displacement is here in the conference. We have a panel exhibition down by the lake that you can come visit later. We also have an island outside. We'll talk about more, so you can actually carry the island and remember this conference. And what we try to do is we try to create engaging spaces that get you to think about ideas in a different way that you might not normally think about if you're sitting around the conference table, if you're sitting at a panel discussion. Get you to think about it differently. We also want to keep the human story at the center. And so these are the sort of bigger themes that we want to look at, and I'm just going to show you a little bit about what we did to give you a sense of this, and we can talk about what it means for you here. This was the exhibition that we did in Marrakesh in December 2018 as part of the Global Forum on Migration and Development. So we had so this is so you can see, so we had an installation of Lucy and Jorge Orta's work. And they have a passport against our team. And you can see the passport here. This is a picture of the passport without restrictions. And you can see it was really we're lining up, engaging. And this also has been an opportunity to talk about this discussion. We can also talk about these possible, not So there you can see again. We also had the island. I won't talk about it more because we're lucky that we have Søren Dalgaard, the artist here, he will talk in just a few minutes and tell you more about the island. The artwork also gave an opportunity for the press to come to hear more about the stories. Imagine if we just had our flyers there versus having an island. The journalists want to come. They want to know more. What is this? How do we? And then it again creates more opportunities to talk about displacement and disasters. We also had a chance for, again, this exchange, what I was talking about. Here you have Søren, you can see him now in person, talking to delegates, talking about his work, exchanging ideas, sharing stories. And that's something that also came out, is that as people engaged with these artworks, they also talked about their personal stories related to disaster displacement. And just to emphasize this, we don't take this for granted in the sense that the Conference on Migration was huge. There's lots of issues, just like here. Disaster displacement is one issue among many in this conference, and we know that it's one issue among many, but we think it's really important. So we're hoping that through this sort of work, you'll remember it and you'll think about disaster risk reduction and displacement when you go home. And it was also, again, engaging at a higher level as well, so making it, bringing up the profile of disasters and displacement through the artwork. So this is the artist Lucy Orta speaking. And in this context, we work closely with the Platform on Disaster Displacement, the Norwegian Refugee Council, and here with UNDRR. So that's where I'm going to just stop for now to give you a little introduction of the project, and I'm going to hand over to Søren Dalgaard to talk about his island.
Thank you. Thanks, Hannah. So I'm one of the artists in the art exhibition curated and organized by Hannah, who presented some of that now. And this image shows me in the desert in the outback in Australia a couple of years ago. And basically the idea of my art project is on the theme of disaster displacement. And with this image, I'm showing a narrative of a movement, of a mobile island, which of course is a utopian idea. But I think that through art and through this project, as an example here, if art can help us imagine the unimaginable, it can hopefully inspire us to think of solutions together. Now this image, I'm driving and making a video of a narrative of the island moving across the world in many locations as a symbol of climate change, refugees, and disaster displaced people. The island is a tropical island, and so that relates to the land and the erosion of islands also. So today and tomorrow, if it's not too windy, we're going to have the inflatable island outside. And for the last 5 years or so, I have been working on a photo series with the inflatable island in many places around the world, and also video. And when it's very windy, the island flies like a kite and transforms into a cloud. That might be a little bit something we don't want to do. But what I want to invite you to do, if you see me outside with the island today and tomorrow, and also by the lake tonight for the opening, is to come and join me to carry the island, and we'll make video, and we'll make interviews. And this is a way to continue the process of creating videos and images, but also experiences. Can we play this video? Yeah. This is from Marrakesh in December, a big conference there. So basically,
symbolic and visible, like carrying actually an island.
Okay, so this was Walter Kalin. I think he's also been speaking at this conference. So one thing is to see this image and this message, but also if you are part of the collaborative effort that we can jointly do and carry it, this is also an experience that is social and physical, and we can do together. So I just invite you to come and explore this together with me. Thanks.
So we just, before you go, we'll keep you just 1 second longer. As I said, we worked with UNDRR to curate this exhibition that's down by the lake. And so we really hope that you will come. I know it's windy and cold tonight, but we'll be opening at 8:30 tonight, and wind permitting, the island will also be there, and the jet d'eau will be lit up for disaster risk reduction. So you can come 8:30, join us. And we just hope that from this presentation that you could think about the possibilities of what it might mean to work with artists, and we're happy to talk to you later. But thinking about the idea of understanding displacement in a new way, thinking about how can it inspire you, keep you engaged, and we really hope that you'll remember these artworks as you go back home, and that as you work on disaster risk reduction, you won't forget the disaster displaced people. Thank you very much.